Well, good afternoon. So glad you all are here. My name is Nancy Blair Black, and this is Digital Village, using technology to increase parent involvement. And we're going to have a great time today. I'm really glad you all are here to tell you a little bit about myself. As we were just talking up here at the front, I've been coming to FETC for several years, and now I've been presenting for a few years, and this is my first year as a featured speaker. It is such an honor, and I just want to thank you all, especially I see several familiar faces, people that I've seen here year after year, and I really appreciate that. This is my 15th year in education. I did spend 8 of those as a classroom teacher, both as a middle grades math and critical thinking teacher, and then as an elementary technology and gifted specialist. So I know that world well. The last few years, I've been working as an educational consultant, speaking and writing, and I also now serve as the president for the Florida Society for Technology and Education. A really shameless plug right there, because if you're from Florida, we would love to have you on board. My website, let's see who goes here, is engagingeducation.net. I have a lot of resources there, not just about connecting with parents, but about all different kinds of things in education, in multimedia, student-created media. So please go ahead and check that out, and you'll find resources there throughout the year. And if you enjoy what you see in this session, I do have 2 other sessions this afternoon on elementary writing and on 3D technologies. So you can join me, and again, if you are interested in the Florida Society for Technology and Education, we have several events this week as well. You can learn more about all of those on my website. All right, enough about my background, because I want to dig in to how we're going to get parents more involved in what we're doing in schools. But let me get a taste of who you guys are so that I know what you're looking for here. How many of you all work at the elementary level? Oh, a lot. Okay, great. How about middle school? High school? How many of you are teachers, classroom teachers? Admin? Technology specialists? District level? A few? Great. Anyone that I didn't say? Maybe you represent a vendor, a company, someone else? Okay, a few. Different hands. How many of you are from Florida? Wow. Welcome. Welcome home. All right. How many of you are from out of state and out of the country? Welcome. This is my home state. I love it here. I love the sunshine all year. So especially those of you from out of state or out of the country, come back and visit us anytime. We'd love to have you. Here in Florida, we have a variety of things happening in schools when it comes to parents. Even in my own hometown and in my experience as a parent, I have seen a wide variety of what's happening. And in a lot of cases, there is a little bit of that stereotype, right, where parents are involved more at the elementary level and it kind of wanes until we don't see them. What's interesting is in my personal experience, I saw that same thing happen. My daughter is now 14 and she just started high school. And whereas I had been very connected and knew what was going on through elementary and middle, in the first 6 months of high school, I have not received a single contact from any of her 7 teachers. None. And it's so interesting to me. And we're going to talk about what happens when we involve parents, what happens when we communicate with parents, and the power that that has. The research shows that when we involve parents, it strongly impacts student achievement. This has been shown in study after study, that if we want to see students more successful academically, parent involvement is actually one of the only things that directly correlates over and over and over. And a lot of times we spend a lot of time and money and resources on other programs and other things to support academics when one of the first things we can do is get our parents more involved. In fact, as a result of that increased student achievement, graduation rates go up consistently when parents are involved in education. And not only academics and graduation rates, but behavior. And the studies they've done correlating parent involvement and behavior is consistently better when the parents are involved. And that isn't a surprise, right? If parents know what's happening in the classroom, They're more likely, right, to be touching base, and we're communicating, and they're helping us. They're on our team. The other thing that's interesting, Harvard did a research study, and they found that parent involvement programs do work. The reason this is important to us is it might be easy to say that the schools that have parents involved have a certain type of parent who would be involved, and maybe those aren't our parents. But what they've found is when schools implement programs to involve parents, they do work and it does increase involvement. So there is good cause for us to make this a priority. Now I will tell you this, it does matter what kind of program you have. So certain practices have a greater effect than others. In one study they showed that you could predict parent involvement if they did these kinds of things. And they're very interesting. Here's the first one. Assigning homework that is designed to increase student-parent interaction. Do any of your schools intentionally assign homework that involves students and parents? A couple. Great. So it's something we don't think about a lot, that intentionally creating homework that forces discussion, that forces interaction. Also, holding workshops for families. How many of your schools have parent workshops and information sessions? Great. We do that at our schools. How about communicating with parents about your children's education? That's more common. How many of you all do that weekly? At least weekly? A few. Okay. And so the more often we're doing these things, the greater influence that's going to have. So I want to ask you right now, what is your message? What is your school's message? What is your district's message? What are the things that you're doing as an organization, as an institution, saying to parents? And there are two types of messages we give. There are the explicit messages. That's what we say. And I see so many schools, right? In an open house time, they say, parents, we love you. You are all welcome here. And then when parents come to the school on a normal school day, there's lots of hoops, even to get to the front desk, to see anyone, to set up a meeting. There's no way to volunteer. And so that implicit message is, you're not really welcome here. We have to be very careful that our messages align, that our parents are consistently getting that message that they're wanted and that they're valued. In fact, there are three major factors of parent involvement. And what's interesting is they have to do with the parent's understanding of that message. The first one being the parent's belief about what is important, necessary, and I love this word, and permissible for them to do with and on behalf of their children. They want to feel like they're allowed to help and be involved. They have to believe that it's important and necessary and permissible. The second one is that parents believe that they can have a positive influence. Are we sharing the research with our parents? Are we keeping them informed? Do they know that if they're involved, their students will do better academically and their behavior will improve? Are we telling them that? They need to know how important their role is. And the third one, again, so important, the parents' perceptions that their children and their school want them involved. The three factors, these indicators of parent involvement, the parents' belief about whether they're wanted is huge. So I want you to take a moment. I'm going to stop. I want you to turn to your neighbor, and I want you to reflect for a moment on what the message is that you believe your school or your district is giving right now. Maybe what you're saying out loud, and then what are you saying with your actions? So go ahead, take a minute. And say hi, introduce yourselves. How are you?
I got to talk to you sometime about this. My wife helped set up a parent center in our school district in New York. And it was phenomenal. She was trained to be a facilitator.
Great.
So she did sessions like how to talk so kids will listen, stuff like that.
Awesome. We will connect for sure. All right. I'm going to go back and get started. Yep.
I'm the tech next door, and you're bleeding through into our presentation.
What should I do?
Just have...
I can't hear it in here.
Yeah, just have them have conversations like they're sitting next to each other.
Oh,
So bring it
okay.
down.
Perfect. Yep. All right. So, based on the conversations you just had, which I can tell some incredible budding friendships and networking are happening right now in this room. It's great hearing what you had to share. How many of you all would say that your explicit message, your direct message out loud to parents is one of "you are welcome"? How many of you all at least have gotten that far? All right. How many of you all would say that your implicit message, what the parents are really getting through signals and signs and body language and actions, matches that one? How many of you all are also inviting them? Wow. So we had, most of the room said, we tell our parents out loud they're welcome. And then I had a few that said, and we act on it. Wow.
It's very difficult. We say they're welcome, but when they want to come at the beginning of the day and have a 10-minute conversation with the teacher while she's trying to get the other 20 ready, then we have to push them out of the hallway because the teacher has to get started. It's like, you're welcome to come, but call first. Let us know you're coming.
Yes.
Be prepared. Just don't show up in the hallway and say, why does my child have an F on their math test?
You make such a great point. What's your name?
Callie.
So Callie's talking about, these boundaries. Being welcoming doesn't mean the parents run all over your school. You must have boundaries. That's important, and that's, creating a safe and secure environment for your students too. That's so, so important. And part of what we're going to talk about today are certain types of practices and activities, actual learning activities that we can do that start giving our parents more of a regular input into the classroom. And when a parent feels connected on a regular basis, they will feel less the need to barge in, right? Because they know they're going to have the ability to talk to that teacher. They know they can get a conference when they need it. They know that if they send an email or a phone call, they'll hear back. And so we can create these physical boundaries we need to create by opening up and creating a message of welcome and involvement in other ways. Excellent point. All right, so with that said, let me ask you this. We've talked about your message. Who are your parents? I'm going to share some different activities and things that we can do, but it's really important to know who your parents are when you're selecting which ones to choose for your school and your district. The reason being that different types of parents are doing different things. Whether you have single parents, whether you have two-parent homes, if children are living with grandparents, those are all going to make a difference. What their socioeconomic status is going to make a difference. The race demographics will make a difference. All of those things do affect the parent involvement in the type of offerings you want to have. An interesting study was out recently, and it was talking about, here based on race, what social media platform adults are more likely to be on. When you know your students and your parents well, you make it a priority to meet them where they are. You don't just expect them to listen to you and come to you. You find where those parents are, and you figure out how to connect. And I want to say at this point, when we say who are the parents, I use that term parents incredibly broadly. Because for so many children, parents are 1, it's 2, it's 4. Maybe they have 2 parents and 2 step-parents. It could be grandparents. It could be an aunt, an uncle, a foster parent, adoptive mom and dad. And we have to realize who they are as people. And that's going to make a difference in what you choose to do in your activities. All right, so keep that in the back of your mind. All right, who are your parents? Because let's talk about how to get them involved. One of the most traditional tools, and I think they're still valuable, we're not going to dig in deep to this, is digital communication tools. Simple, email. Right? That's the most common one now. We're communicating through email. It's so much easier to answer a parent an email, right, when they have a concern about a test or a grade, but we have to be consistent. So what I want to say about just this one piece, I'm not going to dig deep into when we should send email, what we should send, except to say consistency matters. Parents have to know they're going to hear back and in how much time. Otherwise, you will end up with parents on the front steps barging in the doors begging to speak to that teacher. They have to know they'll hear back. As we move more broadly, having a teacher or a school website is going to make a huge difference. All right, Weebly.com is a great platform. It's very easy to create a class website or a school website there that you can share resources. When a teacher has a school website, a class website, they can share homework, classwork, announcements. One of my favorites is to feature student work. So if you get permission from parents, always get permission from parents before you post student work, just side note. But if you post student work on there and parents know they can get an idea of what's happening in the classroom, post pictures of class activities, they will feel more connected. So Weebly is a great way to do that. Another way to get the word out is using Twitter. How many of you all use Twitter for your school or for your classroom? A few of you. I recommend creating one for your class. And even more than that, having a class tweeter. That's a role just like door holder or line leader, all right? Our 21st century classroom jobs. So we have this class tweeter, and each day they're sharing about what you're learning, what you're doing, pictures, activities, whatever is happening in the classroom. If the class pet dies, when will the memorial service be? We're tweeting that out so our parents can get that information on a regular basis. It's also an incredibly good critical thinking process for the students to evaluate what is worth sharing. One of the things that's interesting too is sometimes people get scared about who's all going to see this, but you can set it so that you accept followers, that you have to approve them. And the other thing I've noticed in really looking through a lot of the ones that are out there, the people who are following classrooms is typically, if it's public, other classrooms. It's other teachers and other students who want to see what you're doing too. So feel comfortable, but you can always create it private and just approve parents to be the viewers. Having a class or school blog is another way that you can be sharing information on a regular basis. We had, when I was teaching, we used two different types of blogs. So one was that our students would blog, right? And the parents could see that. We used Kid Blog at a lot of levels, and parents were given access so that they could see what their students were working on and posting, and then the students could access it at home as well and comment. One of the things we did in my gifted classes that I taught was we had one blog for all of those classes together, and we invited the parents to be contributors on that blog. So our parents could sign up, and they actually could post blogs and post comments on our blog. In WordPress, you call that a contributor. They couldn't, they weren't an administrator, they couldn't make changes, and as the educator, I still approved it, so I was, kind of filtering what would come in. But this was very powerful. You may not have every parent get involved in everything that you share, but when you start to do this, you really are creating that digital village. Because someone else's parent may be cheering you on. Right? A student posts, in our case, they would post poetry, they would post their projects, post their inventions they've created. And not only were other students, but parents were really encouraging them and pointing out what was good about their work. And not every kid had that at home. Another way that you can start to bring parents into the classroom is by using audio and video chatting. As simple as using the speakerphone on your phone. We've done a little of that. It's a very simple way. But then really this video conferencing can be incredibly powerful. Whether you're using Skype or FaceTime, a Google Hangout, that would be free. Blackboard Collaborate will let you get a V-room. That's what it's called. You can sign up for that for free. So if your district blocks maybe some of these other things, Blackboard is often approved, and they will let you get a free V-room that will allow up to 3 people at the same time. So you could video conference with a parent in that room. All right? And there are many others, so you may have a video conferencing software that you already use, but what are we going to do with it? So one of the things we can do is invite our parents to be guest speakers. As we're going through the year and really send out surveys and find out what your parents do. What do they know about? What are their hobbies? And as you see that those match up, invite them to be guest speakers. A lot of parents, right, remember who are your parents, cannot come in person. They work during the day or it's too far, but they might be able to video conference in. And that might be the only way that parent ever sees into the classroom during the day the whole year. So we want to broaden that opportunity, especially to parents who can't come during the school day, who can't physically be there. The other thing that can be neat is doing the video conferencing is to send the parent out to a place where they can essentially take the class on a virtual field trip via video conference. So maybe you can't afford to get the bus and take all your students in your whole class to St. Augustine, but maybe one of your parents is willing to go there and tour the fort. Okay, so really start to think about what opportunities. So again, maybe one of your parents works in a bank. Can they give you a tour of the bank via video conference, even if you can't pile all 30 kids into the vault? Maybe she can go to the vault, or maybe he can go into the vault. Another way that this can work is by creating that authentic audience. Our students are aching to share their work with others, not just turn it in for a grade. So when we provide an authentic audience of parents, especially if you have parents who are available in the day, where kids can read aloud to someone or just brag on something they accomplished, that can go a long way. Especially if you already have each of the students' parents, maybe they've all signed up for Skype, and that child can try and reach out to their own parent during the day. Just creating these more opportunities for connectedness. Sugata Mitra, how many of y'all are familiar with him? He has a TED Talk called The Child-Driven Education. I highly recommend that TED Talk. I see nodding from those who have seen it because it's excellent. And he did some work where he had students working in a group independently for about 5 students. And well, he found that when students work on their own, the discussion creates almost a photographic memory. And he said, what could we do to even improve that retention? And all he did was set up what he called granny clouds. And it was literally video conferencing with grandmothers on the other end. And the kids would video conference with these grandmothers, and the grandmothers would say, tell me more. What else do you know about that? And just ask prompting questions. The grandmother did not have to know any of the answers or even know about the subject. Just asking those prompting questions caused the children to have greater student achievement and to retain the knowledge longer. It's incredibly fascinating. So the more people we can have interacting with our students in that way, instead of just us as an educator, the better our students will do. And this is a picture of our kindergartners. They're Skyping, video conferencing about winter. If you want to get started soon with video conferencing, a great time to get started would be World Read Aloud Day. Every year this takes place the first week of March. And it's a great time that you can do one of 2 things. Either invite parents to video conference in and read aloud to your students, or let your students read aloud to the parents. So you can go either direction. This takes place, this is a global movement, the World Read Aloud Day, and you can sign up and see communities that are doing this online. So it's an excellent, excellent place to start, and just right around the corner. All right. Moving in a different direction a little bit. The Google Docs ability to collaborate and to share collaborative documents makes it a perfect way to interact with many parents. They may be able to access it on a mobile device, even if they don't have computer or internet access at home. They can access it during the school day. They can access it at night. So it gives a lot more flexibility for asynchronous involvement of parents. So we're going to do a little example real quick for those of you who have a device out. The one that's up on the board is a KWL chart that a student made with their mom. And what they did was started with, what do I already know, speaking of St. Augustine, about St. Augustine? And then what did they want to learn? And so instead of the child just drawing on their own prior knowledge, remember those assignments we want to create to develop interaction? Well, this is one of them. The student and the parent were combining their prior knowledge on that topic through discussion and through collaboration on this assignment. All right, so this link up here will take you to, I'm going to click. Oh, let me pull mine up too. So it's tinyurl.com/KWL parents. And perhaps some of you have already started to fill it out. But here's a KWL chart. You guys can see how this works. So I've created one that's about involving parents in education. I will go ahead and give you a tip. It's easiest to use if you insert a text box. So that might help. And you can see someone's adding it in, what I knew that I should communicate with parents. And we can see right now I have about seven or more people already on here. So just as you all are able to share your ideas, students and parents can collaborate together and share their ideas together. So let's see what we come up with. I'll give you guys just a moment to get some answers there. tinyurl.com/KWL parents. And it'll take you to this Google Doc. All right, so I see things, what I knew. I knew that parents are key. I knew that parents are a powerful resource. I knew that I needed to create web pages. Great, what did you want to know? So here are some things people wanted to know when they got here. What topics are best for parent workshops? Okay. What to change? Oh, how to change the school culture. Great questions. Yeah, so those dig even deeper into some of the issues surrounding parent involvement. Awesome. So I'm going to leave this. This isn't going to go away. So you guys can add things in here as you'd like. And it'll be there. And it's and so I'm going to visit it later and see what else you guys are interested in for the future. All right. Google Documents can also be used for involving parents in classroom events. So a lot of times it's been hard, and it's a time management issue for parents to coordinate. I mean, for teachers to coordinate parents and events where parents are coming, or if they're going to volunteer, or what they're going to bring. And by using a shared document, you can have parents sign up. Sign up what they're going to bring, sign up what time they're going to be there. You can have them share that. And a lot of times what I would do is assign one parent as the leader and let them monitor that document. Make sure everything was there, answer any questions about that. And so really sharing that. But it's a great way to let our parents get involved in other ways. And again, we're sending that message that they're wanted, right? So that message that they're wanted. How many of y'all are familiar with Voicethread? Okay, a few of you. Voicethread is an incredibly dynamic both Web 2.0 tool and app. It allows a student, an educator, to input a series of photos or videos, and then you can add comments into it, text comments, audio comments, video comments. You can even call in with your cell phone on the paid version and leave a comment that way. It's pretty interesting. So I want to show you all an example of a student portfolio that is intentionally created for a student to showcase their work for their parents. Oh, I was wrong.
Today I will be sharing with you some of my learning over the past year in grade 5. After you have listened to my Voicethread, you will be able to ask me any questions you have about my learning this year. The great thing about Voicethread is that you can watch it again at any time, and we can share it with other members of our family if we want to. It is also possible for you to record any comments on any of these pages too. I would really like you to record some comments about what you're seeing here today. I can show you how to record a comment later at home. So sit back, watch, listen, and enjoy my learning I'm sharing with you today.
Can you see the parent comment there? Give me 1 second to find the mouse. I want to show you guys the next page. Here we go.
I am proud of this work because it was hard to come up with creative and original ideas for the geometry photos. I realized that angles are all around us, and they're everywhere you look. What I need to work on is measuring angles, so I need to buy a protractor to use at home. Will you help me work on this? Maybe you can draw angles that I can practice measuring.
If you were a parent, would that convince you that your student wanted you involved? Yeah. I need a protractor at home, and would you help me with this? It's incredible. So this is Voicethread. And again, we're creating these student portfolios of work so that they know what our students are accomplishing. They don't have to come, barge in the morning, because they're seeing student work on a regular basis, and they know how their students are doing. For those of you who do have parents that are available during the school day, a fun application is called FlockDraw. This is an online whiteboard. If you want to give it a try, you can try right now. It's flockdraw.com. If you have the same letters or numbers after it, you end up in the same whiteboard, and up to 6 people can write at the same time. So if you were going to use this in your room, you might want to change it to flockdraw.com/Smith123 or Smith1, and then the other group is Smith2, Smith3. And you can change that ending on your own. It's a really great shortcut they don't tell you about, but it works. So if you guys get on there, you'll see each other in there, and you can draw and write. There's a chatting component. So if you have parents that are available in real time, this is a great one. It does not save the work outside of that activity. So you can save it. It saves as a JPEG, but you can't save it and come back to it later. Does that make sense? So this is for real time. If your parents are available at 10 and your students are available at 10, they can work from home and at school, or at work and at school, or wherever your parents are allowed to get on their computer. So there are so many different types of applications, and really this is kind of like the tip of the iceberg, but ones that I have seen work with parents. But as you get started with these, one of the things that you might need to figure out is how to keep track of it. How am I going to manage my volunteers? How am I going to manage these activities? If you want to have guest speakers and guest readers, how are you going to keep track of that? And an application that's really great for doing that is Volunteer Spot, and this is free. And it will let you actually schedule things on a shared calendar with your parents. So you can say, I need 2 readers on this day at this time. And then the parents can sign up for those slots. And it manages all of that for you automatically. It'll send reminder emails, all of that from within this application. Another way that you can communicate with parents and with students is with Remind. This used to be Remind 101. Some of you might be familiar with it. So they've changed. Now it's just Remind. But this will communicate with your parents via email or text message. And what's great is it creates a barrier of privacy. So again, if you're trying to manage your volunteers, just a reminder, on Friday at 2 o'clock is the class party. Don't forget to bring what you signed up for on the Google Doc. You can send that as a message, but it doesn't give away your personal phone number and whatnot as an educator. And it also doesn't give you their personal phone number. So the parents can feel secure and your students can feel secure that that it's sending in that way. So that's Remind. And that mostly wraps up. I'm going to share one more resource. But what we've got, we have 4 minutes left. It flies by, doesn't it? So before I share the last resource, are there any questions that you have right now? I think I can answer like 1 or 2 maybe in this little bit of time. Someone's itching with something about these kinds of activities? Yes?
What do you do when your district, from non-hotel where I'm from, doesn't really allow all of these resources? And how do you make that movement happen?
So that's a totally different session. No, but it's so interesting. And the thing is, in your district, there will be something you can do. Right? There will be something you can do. The same way we talked about, you might have 5 video conferencing softwares blocked, but you might be able to use Blackboard, right? And you might have some of these websites blocked, but some of them will be open. And if it's not these activities, remember, it's not about the exact app. It's about the kind of activity it's facilitating. So maybe you can't get Voicethread, but that doesn't mean you can't create a student portfolio that can be shared. So it's the activities themselves that are creating those kinds of activities we said, the homework that builds interaction, that welcoming belief that they're wanted and that they're important. It's the types of activities. So it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and on behalf of your districts assume they're doing it for good reasons and they probably have student safety in mind. But I guarantee you something is available to get started in this direction. But you might have to experiment a little bit to find out what it is. That is such an excellent question. All right, so I'll take a few more questions after the time is up. I do want to share with you one last resource and kind of a final story as we close. The last resource is a collaborative writing tool, and it's called Storybird. So the website is storybird.com. This is a beautiful storytelling app anyway. They use professional artwork. So they have licensed it out so students can write stories that go with some of the most beautiful illustrations. And this is the best part, focus on the writing because they're not spending all of their time on the pictures. So I love this application in general. But one of the best features about it is that it will allow your students to write with one other person, and you can invite them via email. We did this with our 66 fifth graders. And we were able to, and we had students of all different socioeconomic levels, very diverse group, and we were able to find a parent or parent figure to write with every single student and partner to write a Storybird. It was an incredible project. They worked on it sometimes when they were apart, sometimes when they were together. And in the end, they finished their stories and they were able to present them to the class. 2 things happened that were unbelievable to me. The first was one of the little boys, 5th grader, received this comment. Dear Shane, you did a great job. Thanks for letting me write this book with you. It was so much fun. I'm very proud of you. Love, Mom. And I ask you, when was the last time that you gave an assignment that prompted that between students and parents? And what else can we do if just allowing them to write a story together can, right? The second thing that happened was another 5th grade boy actually asked me if he could bring his mom to class to read the story with him. I don't know about you all, but 5th grade boys do not invite their moms to class. That is not a thing, right? And he wanted his mom, and I said, yes, of course. Please bring your mom. Really powerful things happen when we take a leap of faith on behalf of our students and our parents. And we trust that if we send a consistent message to our parents that they are important, that they are valuable and valued, and that they are wanted, that amazing, amazing things will happen in the life of our students. With that, I thank you all very much for being here, and I wish you a fantastic FETC.